Hey all, Coach Chris here with a nice short stretch video for you today. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on stretches related to posture, because all of us have been spending a little bit more time sitting down than we would ideally like to. So without further ado, let's get into stretch number one. Alright, so stretch number one is going to be the frog stretch. Beautiful stretch to open up your hips. And just get everything feeling a little bit looser around your hips and adductors, which is inner part of your thigh. You'll probably want something slightly soft for your knees. Realistically, a folded up towel or a couple of cushions will do the job perfectly if you haven't got a mat. You want to start on all fours like so, and then we're going to move your knees out pretty wide, ankles out to the same width of your feet, and then drop down onto your forearms, and we're going to push your hips backwards, but try not to round your back like this. So if you think about pushing your tummy out like so, that will keep your posture good, and then drop your hips back into the stretch and hold that for a decent amount of time, and you'll really feel this one. For stretch number two, we're again going to be focusing on the hips, but this time specifically on the hip flexors at the top of the thigh. And we'll show a progression to target more of your quadriceps, so thigh muscles as well. For this one, we're going to go into a nice long lunge. Try and tuck your hips underneath you. So don't let your hips push back. Tuck your hips underneath you and hold your core muscles nice and strong. And then just sit your weight forwards into the stretch. If you want to lean on your knee, you can, but the goal is to try and keep your core muscles tight and push forward. You should feel a good stretch just here. If you want to make this more advanced, you can lean hands down on the ground, reach back, and you can also pull your heel towards your hip, and you will feel that a lot more. So feel free to ease into it and give that one a go, obviously on both sides. Stretch number three is going to be focusing on your hamstrings, on the back of your upper leg, and also calves. I'm using a band, but if you don't have a reasonably strong band at home, you can do it with any piece of material that will stand up to a bit of force. One of the most obvious things is to use a towel. So you can roll a towel up and use it like so. What you want to do is place whatever you're using, band or towel, just under toes, a little bit lower down than toes, kind of on the ball of your foot. Take a lay down on your back and nice and smoothly lift your leg. The goal to this one is to try and stay relaxed. It's an easy stretch to tense up and not get the full benefit. So make sure that your toes are not pushing against whatever you're using. Try and relax. And to pull it on, you can use your arms to pull a little further and pull your toes a little bit more, and you'll feel this right down the back of the leg. And again, make sure you do this one on both sides. This next stretch is one of my favourites. It's brilliant for movement in your shoulders, across the muscles in your chest, your upper back, and also a little bit of gentle movement into your neck. So there's plenty going on all at the same time. It can be nice and efficient, one of my favourite things. For this one, you will want to start off just by lying on your side. You want roughly 90 degrees at your hip and at both knees, and your lower body just acts as a counterbalance in this one. Try to keep your knees together all the way through. Both arms nice and straight, hands together, and then just nice and steadily reach up and around until you hit horizontal, and then nice and slowly back the way you can. Really take your time on this one. Try and breathe through it, and again, remember to keep your knees together all the way through. Even if one side feels a little bit stiffer than the other, I'd still recommend doing the same number on both sides for symmetry. Take your time and breathe and relax into that one. Our fifth stretch is a brilliant one for around your shoulders and around your lats. Those are key postural muscles that can often get tight working at a desk, working at a keyboard. So this will really help to open your shoulders up nicely. For this one, what you want to do is start on your knees. If you're familiar with a child pose, it's a variation of that. Reach your arms quite far forward and hands together, and then keep your arms straight and drop your face and chest down towards the ground, and you should feel a decent stretch around your lats and around your shoulders. If you spring your hands too far back, you'll just end up sitting your hips back to your heels before you feel any stretch. So reach your hands a bit further forward, and then the focus is more about pushing face and chest to the ground than sitting backwards. So face and chest to the ground. If your arms are straight, your elbows will just stay off the floor. Take your time, breathe, and take it nice and gentle on this one. And finally, we've got an awesome stretch and mobiliser for your shoulders. Fairly obvious as to why that one's going to be important, because again, a lot of us spend a lot of time like this in normal daily life, so we want to do what we can to open up. You will want the same implement that you use, or maybe a different one, but probably the same implement that you used for the hamstring and calf stretch that we did a moment ago. The shorter whatever you're using is, the harder this is going to be. So if you can find something longer to begin with, that would be ideal. A broom handle, a long towel, etc. What you want to do is hold your implement at either end. Try and keep your core nice and strong through this one, so there's no arching of your back. And all we're going to try and do is come around in a nice steady circle, all the way down to your lower back. And then keep your elbows straight and around the front where you started. You'll feel specific points where there's more resistance. Take your time through those points. Where you feel the most stretching is where the benefit to this one really is. So for example, this should be fairly easy. Then when you get above your head and slightly behind, you'll feel a little bit more stretch. Take your time. That's where the benefit is. So don't rush through that part. And again, focus on keeping your elbows nice and straight as you come back around to the front. Take your time and run through probably 10 to 15 reps of that, and you'll feel nice and loosened off afterwards. Run through those stretches, follow the video through and look at the teaching points. Feel free to pause the video and come back to each segment. And yeah, happy loosening yourselves off after a long day. Enjoy.